Welcome to Lab 10, the male reproductive system. So, the male reproductive system, we're going to kind of travel around as everything would travel through that male reproductive system. So, everything, sperm development starts in those testes. Those testes are where sperm is starting to develop. They grow most of their major parts that they need. And from there, they're going to go to the epididymis. That epididymis is where sperm go to mature, and then they're stored there until they're needed. Both the testes and the epididymis sit in the scrotum, which sits outside of the body, because for sperm to develop, they need to actually be a few degrees below body temperature, which is why they sit outside of the body. So when sperm are being used, are needed, from the epididymis, they're going to travel into this ductus deferens. This ductus deferens kind of travels up around, and it actually goes over top of the bladder, where it's going to come in contact with this, not what I wanted, seminal vesicle. The seminal vesicle sits behind the male bladder, and it secretes out different substances that gets added to that sperm to create that semen. From there, it's going to travel to the prostate gland. Again, that gland is going to add more substances to that sperm to add more to that semen as it travels through. So here we can see I'm going to go back to those seminal vesicles that sit behind the bladder. From there, that sperm and that semen is going to travel through that prostate gland. The area of the prostate gland that semen travels through is known as the ejaculatory duct. From there, it's going to enter the urethra. From that urethra, it's going to travel down. So here, we're taking off more layers. We get that ejaculatory duct, that ductus deferens, that once it enters, here's that ductus deferens. As soon as it enters the prostate, it's that ejaculatory duct until it makes it to that urethra. Then we go into that prostatic urethra. On the bottom of that prostate is where we have what is known as that pelvic floor or that perineum. This is where we're going to find the membranous urethra. The membranous urethra is this very small area of the urethra that is traveling. That's not what I wanted. Traveling through just that pelvic floor. That is that membranous urethra. From here, we get to the spongy urethrum. The spongy urethra there we go, travels through the entire length of the penis. The penis has two different types of tissues in here. We have the corpus spongiosum. That's where the spongy urethra comes from, the corpus spongiosum. And then we have the corpus cavernosum. That corpus cavernosum is that area that fills with like blood vessels that engorge, that allows an erection to occur. Trying to see what else I have here. The glans penis is kind of blue. This kind of area that kind of comes out and around. That's that glans penis area. Here, you can see that corpus spongiosum, that corpus cavernosum. Another gland that we have that sits in that pelvic floor are the bulbourethral glands. Those bulbourethral glands are gonna add, this is actually what secretes out some of that. It secretes out substance before that semen enters the urethra. And what it's doing is it's neutralizing the urethra through the penis, because urine usually travels through there, which is very acidic. And if that sperm hits that acidity, it kills it. So we're trying to prevent that through these bulbourethral glands secreting out some substances that is helping to kind of neutralize that urethra. Here you get a really good view of those seminal vesicles sitting back here, back behind that bladder. You can see that ductus deferens coming down. You got those testes that sit in that scrotum. You have the prostate gland. You have that spongy urethra, that membranous urethra that's traveling through that pelvic floor, that underside, and then that bladder, because everything kind of travels up and around that bladder. So here we've got sperm. Sperm have a head. They also have a tail. This view, this is all we can see. Here, if we get a little bit closer, you can see that head of that sperm here. There's this little thickened area kind of through here. That thickened area is known as the mid piece of the sperm, and then we have the tail of the sperm. What we can't really see the nucleus really well, and the other thing that can't see really well is there's this tissue that kind of wraps around the front. It's not really tissue, it's more, it's known as, it's the acrosome. That acrosome is that area that contains a lot of enzymes that helps sperm to penetrate that ovum specifically. So here, if we're looking inside of the testes, there's one of these, this one's probably one of the better ones because it's zoomed in further. Well, they both kind of are. If you actually look on lab 1112 for this one, you can see our spermatogonia. These are the cells that are going to become sperm. These spermatogonia are going to divide and separate into primary spermatocytes. Those primary spermatocytes actually become secondary spermatocytes. Let's see if some of these are labeled somewhere. Nope. Nope. So I like this one. This is what I was looking for. The primary spermatocytes. Those primary spermatocytes start to divide here, where we start getting them dividing from those kind of spermatogonia. Some of those are primary. My bad. Yeah. This one probably isn't. That one's not a primary. That one's not a primary. Those two are the secondary spermatocytes. Those secondary spermatocytes become spermatotids. And then we kind of have that spermatogonia again, or spermatozoa, as it's listed on your sheet. But here we can also see those seminiferous tubules. Those seminiferous tubules are actually this entire area through here. That's that seminiferous tubule. This is an area where a group of sperm are developing. So you see those spermatogonia or spermatozoa, those primary spermatocytes. If you notice that these aren't labeled with any secondary spermatocytes, so if they're not labeled, I don't have any pictures that highlight them well. Those spermatotids from there. Just some other images of some of these. Here is a cross section of a male penis. Yes, it kind of looks like an alien. At least I think it does. Here you can get that corpus cavernosa. Here you see that corpus spongiosum. You see that spongy urethra. You can see all these different blood vessels here. All of these different blood vessels are helping to bring that blood in that helps to allow an erection to occur. Here, this picture shows that spermatogonium, those spermatogonium. Here's those primaries, here's those secondaries, here's those spermatids that are starting to grow those tails that are going down towards, going into through those seminiferous tubules inside those testes before they go into the actual epididymis that allows those sperm to actually mature. So if there's anything that I did not list on this sheet, I'm not going to ask it, because if I didn't point it out, I don't have a good picture of it to show. So thank you very much for listening and have a wonderful day. Bye.